Yeah, so this is a story of my story a little bit, and it's the story of how I got involved with whole health and where we are going with the VA. And I have to tell you, it is awesome. So I work for the Office of Patient-Centered Care and Cultural Transformation. That's that OPCC and CT. It should be cultural transformation in Office of Patient-Centered Care, because that's my job, is culturally transforming how providers, how clinicians, especially primary care providers, do their health care. I also see patients in Boston with the Boston VA when I'm in town. But I travel around the country talking about this. This slide is pretty much the whole story, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it all. But the big thing is that VHA, our mission, is to honor Americans' veterans by providing exceptional health care that deals with improving their health and their well-being. That's right from the get-go before whole health even started coming into play. That was in our mission. When whole health, this concept started back in 2011 with Tracy Gaudette. She's an amazing physician, amazing boss to have. Yeah, and I have to do the disclaimer. Sorry you're getting the B-level speaker today. It should have been Ben Kligler, my boss, who's an amazing guy, or Tracy, so sorry about that. But, all right, so whole health, what we're doing is we are empowering and equipping our veteran patients to take charge of their life and their health so that they actually are activated to take care of their own health care. Makes our jobs 1,000 times easier. And in fact, that's health care, that's well care. Okay, so what we're doing is we're moving from sick care, what is the matter with you, to health care, what matters to you. And this is the big question we train providers to start to recognize. What matters to you? And I'll give you some anecdotal stuff later. But when I got involved in this, I started working for the VA back in 2012. But the mission statement for VHA in the strategic plan 2013-2018 had this thing that they wanted us to start doing a personalized health plan that was built on patients' values, conditions, needs, and circumstances, and that brought optimal health and well-being to our veteran patients. So in 2014, I was tasked because my little practice in Lambertville, New Jersey, which I did for 10 years, was a little bit kooky-faluki, but I am that kind of doctor. So anyway, I learned integrative medicine, and the chief of staff up at Boston was charged with this pilot study, how to do personal health planning in a 30-minute primary care visit without utilizing any FTE or anything. And I have to qualify that we have the luxury of 30-minute primary care visits in VA. So I know that's, in private practice it was like the 11-minute visit, but we're a little bit more, we have that luxury. So we were given the circle of health at that time, and this circle of health is a very powerful thing. And all of this, as you heard, is available to you, your taxpayer. We have no proprietary rights to it. But I want to point out that this puts the veteran patient right at the center, surrounded by mindful awareness, really being present about all these 8 areas of self-care. You notice that the green, the areas of self-care, are the largest area of this circle of health. That's for a reason. It's because these are the areas that the veteran patient or any patient lives and breathes every single day, 365 days a year. They come in to see you once, twice a year. When they leave, they still have charge of this. So how can we activate them to take charge of these 8 areas of self-care? The blue, the dark blue, is traditional as well as complementary and integrative healthcare approaches. And it's surrounded by this light blue, the community at large, whether that's the VA community or the community of Rye, New York, or wherever that veteran lives and breathes. It's a very powerful circle that we can start to look at and how we are going to take this, get some information about values, ideals, what matters to the veteran in these areas, and really start to put it into our practice and our plan for the patient. So what I did back in 2014 is I had to figure out a way how to get traditional docs to start to ask these questions. So I created what's called the Boston Whole Health Review of Systems. It's no longer used, but I'm very proud of it. That's why you're looking at it. On the front side was this traditional review of systems, and on the back side was the whole health review systems that dealt with those 8 areas of self-care. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 5? Where would you like to be? Do you have any health goals? What matters most to you? What would you like to accomplish today? This was changed to the national, what we call personal health, short form personal health inventory, but it came from here, Boston, right? Anyway, this has all of these questions. This MAP, mission aspiration question, I will get into the 8 areas of self-care, and what is your best possible vision of your best possible health? Okay, some terms so everybody's on the same page in the room. Personal health inventory and personal health plan, okay? A personal health inventory is a self-reflection tool. It's any tool. It's literally just asking what matters to you. What do you need your health for? It's using a circle of health. It's using a short form personal health inventory or Boston Whole Health Review Systems. It just is asking the veteran to spend some time, some mindful time to reflect on what matters to them and their health. The personal health plan is what is being built from that personal health inventory. It's the unique personalized plan that is built on patients' values, conditions, needs, and circumstances. And it also has pieces that help to support that plan. So it has, health coaching or other modalities that support the plan. In just the, if you want to look at it, this is what it looks like for a PHI. Our personal health plan has all of these different areas, which is built off of this. In VA, we believe that the personal health plan is veteran-owned, and we're moving towards that. So, this is the process we came up with in 2014, how to do personal health planning in a 30-minute primary care visit. You develop a whole health assessment, shared goals, from there you move to personal health plan, and then skill building and support. It is doable. It's very difficult for your average, traditionally trained doctor to start to transform and do this whole process. So things have been changing, and that's where we've got to get to. So today, once again, in VHA's strategic plan for the next, 5 years? Whatever. It's again, VA will provide personalized, proactive, patient-driven healthcare that empowers, equips, and encourages veterans to take charge of their health and well-being. This statement here starts to move into what we call the whole health system. So it wasn't enough to do whole health medicine just in one clinic here, one clinic here. My fearless leader, Tracy Gaudet, said, the whole system needs a transformation. The whole system needs to be thrown out and started from scratch. And we're going to call that whole health system. And so I'm going to talk about that in a second. I do want to bring up a couple of things that serendipitously helped us to build this whole health system and made it possible. In July of 2016, the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, CARA legislation came through. And fortunately for us in VA, that meant Congress sent us billions and billions of dollars for us to do this work. What it did is it said that we're going to deal with the opioid addiction, but we're also going to utilize complementary and integrative treatments in dealing with opioids and suicide and high-risk chronic disease. The other big thing that happened for us that helped us with this work is in May of 2017, a CIH directive came down from VA high-ups. And it has 2 lists, and this is basically comes from the ACP's recommendation on treatment modalities for back pain. List 1, this is really important because it will eventually start to affect everyone in this room. List 1 are modalities that have evidence of promising or potential benefit. Acupuncture, meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, massage, hypnosis, biofeedback, and guided imagery. What that means is that all veterans, if their treatment requires that they need these modalities, VA is paying for them. So all of these modalities are in the veteran packages. List 2 is not in the veteran packages, but a lot of places, a lot of medical centers are starting to utilize them. They are considered generally safe. So we do healing touch, acupressure, reflexology, Reiki. Now, why this is important is because my bosses, Tracy Gaudette and Ben Klegler, they're now working with CMS to get Medicare and Medicaid to pay for this. So soon, Medicaid and Medicare will be paid for this, and so goes them, so goes the rest of the insurance world. Very big, big, big thing. Okay, so what ended up happening through all these things and life-shifting things within VA is this whole health system came in to be. And this is what we are working on. 3 domains. I call it the fidget spinner. I'm not supposed to do that, but you have this empower piece, which is we utilize our veteran peers, one of our greatest resources, and I'll explain that in a second. There's this equip or self-care piece where most of the CIH modalities fall, and then there's the treat piece, which every single clinician within VH healthcare lives and breathes. And my big job is I go around teaching clinicians what that means for them and how they can do it in a very benign, fun, happy way. I want to point out that the personal health plan sits here in the middle and is the big integrator between all of these. And that's important. I'll touch on that in a second. Okay, so this system, it combines the state-of-art conventional medicine with personal health planning, complementary integrative health approaches. We partner with our patients. That's huge. It's not just about good bedside manner. It's actually partnering with our patient, what matters to you, and how can I help you achieve your best possible vision for your best possible health. So in order to achieve this whole health system, the network directors, so the VA is broken up into what we call VISNs, V-I-S-N. That's just regions. You see this 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 20, 21. So these blocks of states are VISNs. And the network directors are in charge of a VISN. And so each VISN back in at the end of fiscal year 17 decided, okay, in the fiscal year 18, we are going to support one flagship, which will give them some money and they can put together this whole health system, and then they can help to spread the whole health system throughout our VISN. So I'm in VISN 1, Boston is a flagship. Syracuse, you are a design site, so they didn't get as much money, but they are working on developing a whole health system. These are the flagships within the country, but there are many other sites that are doing this work. Okay, as part of our evaluation for the 18 and 18 flagships, we are looking at these basic 5 categories. We're going to have hundreds of thousands of patients enrolled in the whole health system. So we're going to have outcomes and data that is going to be awesome to be able to really prove that this is the way healthcare should be delivered. And these are the 5 general areas of, that are being looked at through different metrics. Okay. So back to this whole health system, this pathway part. What this does is, this is veterans who partner with other veterans that introduce them to the system, that begin to explore them. Hey, VA wants to know what matters to you. I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to look at this question with you. And when you go to your primary care doc, you can tell your doctor, this is what matters to you. You want to go back to school and become a welder. And your doctor's going to know what that means, and they're going to utilize that information with your healthcare plan and make you healthier in order to be able to achieve that. We have several very formal programs that the veterans run for each other. One of them is Taking Charge of My Life and My Health, which is an 8-week program, goes through 8 areas of self-care. There's a welcome and orientation section. That other bubble on the lower left is the well-being program. This has the complementary and integrative health modalities, not just for treatment, but if a veteran wants yoga or Tai Chi, we run those programs for them. These well-being programs, they don't have to be disease-focused. We're just trying to support self-care and well-being for our veterans. Now, this is where I live and breathe, and this is what I do a lot of work on. I want to point out that we have CIH modalities here. So if a provider offers battlefield acupuncture in their clinic, that's a CIH modality that's being offered in the whole health clinical care realm. We have health coaches Visit 8, which is down in the Georgia region, is hiring 150 LPN health coaches. That's basically one coach for every 3 providers. So this is huge, okay? So this whole the idea of the personal health plan as the integrator of it, this is where I work with, I'm basically, boots on the ground. I work with clinicians who don't want to do this and who, very resistant to all of this. So we talk about personal health plan, and it really is important to note that this is partnering with the veterans. It's not just good bedside manner. People are like, I'm good with my patients, I'm really, people like me, blah, blah, blah. That's great. And, how many times have you told them to lose weight? How much weight have they lost? So stop wasting your breath, right? Let's think about how we can partner where the sweet spot is and how we can get people to actually make behavioral changes and take charge of their life and their health. There are elements of a personal health plan that in our VA literature we portray as this. However, I flatten it out like a pancake and I talk about the umbrella. And this is based off of the initial work that we did in 2014, but it's a little bit different. We have this self-reflection piece, this map piece, mission, aspiration, purpose, what matters to you. Then we have a whole health assessment, this goal setting, and then skill building and support. And so what I tell providers is that no one provider has to do all of this. It's all about working as a team. And in VA, primary care work does have team-based approach, so that's nice. And our whole health system, I'm going to show you in a minute, is built into working into a nice little team. But this is the basic process of how you can get movement with patients. How you should think about this is what work can be done through provider, what does the provider really have to do, and what's going to be given off to the post-provider people. And if you look at it this way, the team is working to help that veteran become activated in their own health and life. So say they work with a veteran peer group and they really explore what matters most to them. That's a lot of pre-work that's being done there. When they come in to see their primary care provider, the provider, at the very least, the provider just has to say, I see you're working with veterans and you really want to go, you want to dance at your daughter's wedding, or you want to go back to welding school, or you don't want to, run a half marathon. That's really awesome. I don't have time for that because I'm problem list 20 deep, but I want to acknowledge that you're doing this work, and if you have any questions, I'm going to hook you up with the resources that you need to. Period. We have changed the traditional clinical encounter to a whole health clinical encounter because we've acknowledged in our plan what matters to that veteran. Post-provider, we can say, okay, you're having balance issues. I'm going to send you to some Tai Chi lessons, and maybe they can help you with some balance. So we're going to offload as much as possible post-provider. I want to talk about this self-reflection, mission, aspiration, purpose. We use these terms because our veterans are very familiar with mission. Sometimes I don't like mission, aspiration, purpose. Sometimes I use aspiration, mission, purpose, AMP. Like so. But anyway, the idea is we are changing what we're saying to the veteran to what matters to you, not what's the matter to you. And providers are very scared at first because they're like, if I start asking those kinds of questions, I only have a short amount of time. This takes literally no time. And I work with clinicians to really show them that it can be done and you're not adding anything to any length of time to the visit, you're just really adding quality to the visit. I also speak of it in the big term, big questions. What matters to you in your life? What do you need your health for? What activities would you like or need to be able to do? What is your vision of your best possible health? I'm going to tell a story in a minute. Whole health assessment. So whole health assessment is basically showing somebody a circle of health or giving somebody a personal health inventory to fill out. We're asking the big questions, getting some personal health inventory information, using healthy risk tools like Framingham score, opioid score, all of those tools that clinicians use. But clinical evaluation. This is so important. Everyone in this room went to school a very long time and is very expert and very knowledgeable in what you know and what you have to give to the patient. So it's not throwing that out, it's incorporating it in with new values, ideals, and hopes and dreams and wishes and all the soft stuff that the patient is giving you. Okay. And then we work with clinicians, if they're comfortable, with MI skills, developing shared and SMART goals. I'll give you an example here. If I tell you a patient has a hemoglobin A1C of 13.1, everybody has a goal in their head right now. But what if I tell you that the patient's goal is to stay safe because they're homeless? That goal it may be incongruous. So how can we get to a shared goal? Developing SMART goals. These are the elements of a personal health plan. I'm going to get into that. One thing the VA does very well is we have a lot of skill building and resources and support. So we have a lot of groups, we have a lot of ways where we can have patients go to MOVE groups, which is a weight loss group, smoking cessation, etc. Now we also have our new CIH programming, which is also for skill building and support. So I'm done with those. I want to give you one example of how this works. A very good friend of mine who's a psychiatrist works high-risk opioid patients. And she's trying to get people off, she works in the Suboxone clinic, trying to get patients off of drugs, at least lower their drugs one by one. She was very resistant to this whole thing. I'm not going to use a PHI, but she finally ended up using it, and she asked this patient of hers, Vietnam veteran, would wear shorts in Madison, Wisconsin in the middle of winter because his legs were all swollen and oozing, homeless, high-dose opioid user. And so she asked him, she said, what matters most to you? And he said, Batman. And she's like, all right, this is crazy. Recupero is crazy. Like, what am I supposed to do with Batman? So she's like, can you tell me what Batman means? And he says, I went to school at the University of Chicago. I wanted to be an illustrator, a cartoonist, and I always wanted to draw for DC Comics. She's like, oh, that's really great. And so gave him drugs, left. He comes back the next week and he has a bunch of papers, and she says, what's that? And she shows him some comics. They were very good. Anyway, gave him his drugs, went away. This went on for a few weeks. Then one day she says, okay, when's the last time you used? And he says, 2 weeks ago. And she said, what? And she said, how are you doing? How's your PTSD? How are you doing? And he said, I'm very sick, doc. I'm gonna jump off the bridge. I'm going on my head. She's like, well, you can't just stop that amount of narcotics. We should weed you, we should put you in the hospital. He says, no, I'm not doing that. She said, well, what are you talking about? He says, I want to draw for DC Comics. And she's like, I know, but we have to do this medically sensibly. So anyway, she supported him through that, and his life slowly, over the next month to a year, started to improve. He actually got a home, and he got connected with his family, and he saw the birth of his grandson, and he became involved in his kids' lives. And then about a year later, he comes in, he has a piece of paper, and she says, oh, let's see the picture. And it wasn't. It was a letter from LA DC Comics giving him a job. She said to him, oh my God, now we have to prepare you to go move to LA to move out there. This is a whole big thing. I can't even believe it, first of all. And he said to her, doc, my life is good enough. And so that's the lesson. The power of what matters to you is a really awesome thing. Thanks.